preferably put it around your neck, if you can.
Should I do it from sitting here?
That's up to you. You're allowed to go wherever you want. I am. Zoom level.
Yes?
Wait, show me
I'll
again.
be connecting the wire. If you need me, I'm right here.
Yes?
Okay, and Zoom is, tell me, show me the Zoom again.
Number 4, well, number 3A, you mean? 3A.
And this is where, this is what I'm looking at through here. So I don't have to look through
How much
here.
time do you want for it?
You can if you want.
Yeah, all right.
15
You want to
minutes?
use this, you have to shut that.
Say that again.
Yes.
Oh,
It has been pointed out, on a previous notice.
Yes?
Previous notice has to be given at a meeting.
No?
Yes, it does. No previous notice was given at the previous meeting.
It's my understanding that it does not have
It
to be.
requires previous notice and a 2/3 vote.
Right.
Previous notice was not given at the previous meeting.
It requires previous notice or
No, Madam Chair.
a 2/3.
Madam Chair, I would refer you to Robert's Rules of Order. Pages, let's see, I believe it's 642 and 643. Removing someone is, the motion here is to rescind, it's the same as every other motion to rescind of how you have to do this, but we've done it a different way. If you read the bylaws, it's going to require a 2/3 because our bylaws, if you read this, you want to go through this whole thing now.
We can go through this whole thing right now.
All right.
On page, in the great pages, number 46, number 6, motions which require 2/3 vote. It says, right at, it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th thing, deposed from office where trial is not required, and notice has not been given. Now, notice was given on the listserv, and, yes.
Madam Chair, the closed email list doesn't count for previous notice.
Let me.
Talk to him about that. Madam Chair, continuing my point of order for those who aren't paying close attention, the fact is, previous notice has to be given at a meeting. It can't be given on a closed mailing list. That is not previous notice. It wasn't, so, even if you want to go by saying it's a motion to simply rescind, and it would only require a bare majority if you give previous notice, no previous notice was given. We are required to do these meetings openly before the public. We have always known prior to this moment that previous notice had to be given at a meeting, at one of these open meetings. You can't give it on the mailing list and say, okay, there it is. It's just not done that.
Actually, there's a provision for giving it by mail.
Point of order?
Yes.
That's a point of order, Madam Chair. That's a violation of the bylaws.
Which is part of the bylaws. Can you say that part of the bylaws?
The
part that says it's a violation of it.
Right.
It's a meeting section which describes what notice is.
I'm pretty sure.
That's the bylaws.
You know where it is, you can do it.
Never found the meeting section.
where's their pause, like if it's... It's their pause, because sometimes it's just boring.
Yes.
Like now, they're just
Supposed to
waiting.
run all the time.
Oh, okay. Do you want to see?
No, I just want to look. Try to hold it steady.
Yeah, well, I'm just learning how to do it. Well, I was trying to move who's talking, but I'm not doing it too well. I'm not too good at it so far.
Point of order.
Yes?
Want to continue the objections of who's allowed to participate as a board member in this meeting, that the only people who are allowed legally to participate in this meeting of the local station board should be those whose terms have not yet expired, and that those whose terms have expired, and they expired in December 1st, and that those people should remove themselves from this table.
Okay,
Now, that's the-
we addressed that at the previous meeting. I did read the opinion of Pacifica's counsel, and in fact, people remain seated until the issue of the elections has been resolved.
I move to overrule the chair on that and call for a roll call vote.
Okay. All right. I read out the last meeting. All right. I'm going to read the opinion of Dan Silverman. At the request, all right. In light of the delay in the conclusion of the election for WBAI delegates, LSB members, as a result of a lawsuit brought by several members, shall the current sitting LSB members, delegates, including those elected in 2004, remain in office until the replacements have been elected and certified? My answer is that all current WBAI delegates, LSB members, shall remain in office and carry out the responsibilities of their positions until their replacements have been seated. My opinion is supported by the following authorities. 1. The local station boards are committees of the Pacifica National Board. See Pacifica Bylaws Article 7, Local Station Board, Section 1, Local Station Boards, there shall be a standing committee of the Board of Directors of each foundation radio station, which shall be known as the Local Station Board. A local station board shall have 24 members. See Pacifica Bylaws Article 7, Local Station Board, Section 2, Composition of the Local Station Board. Each LSB shall consist of 24 delegates elected by the members for that radio station, 18 listener-sponsored delegates, and 6 staff delegates. 3. Pacifica is governed by Robert's Rules of Order. Pacifica Bylaws Article 16, Parliamentary Procedure. The rules contained in Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, as amended from time to time, shall govern the foundation in all cases where they are applicable and in which they are not inconsistent with these bylaws or any special rules of order which the foundation may adopt. 4. Under Robert's Rules, members of the committee shall serve until their successors are seated. See Robert's Rules of Order, page 171. 607, committee members are presumed to serve until their successors are appointed. The conclusion required by these authorities is that the only way in which Pacifica can be in compliance with its bylaw requirements that a local station board be comprised of 24 members, and that it conduct business in accordance with Robert's Rules is to retain in office those LSB members whose terms are due to expire and whose successors have not been seated. Although the California Corporations Code does not actually apply to this situation, my conclusion is consistent with the intent and spirit of the law, which states, as applied to directors but not committee members, 5220B, quote, unless the articles or bylaws otherwise provide, each director, including a director elected to fill a vacancy, shall hold office until the expiration of the term of which he elected, and until a successor has been elected and qualified, emphasis added. So, any further
Well,
discussion?
yes, I'd like to read into the record then the contrary opinion, which is, says pursuant to the bylaws and consistent with California law, the term of all delegates elected in November 2004 expired on December 1st, 2007. They do not hold over until their replacements are elected, and only the 12 delegates elected in 2006 remain qualified to serve on the local board. Firstly, the results of the 2004 election was certified on December 1st, 2004. Second to what the opinion of the chair. Thirdly, Dan Silverman, Pacifica's attorney, admits in his memorandum of law filed in Cohen et al. Versus Pacifica Foundation that the terms of the delegates elected in 2004 have expired. Fourthly, California Corporate Code 5220B, which extends the terms of directors until their replacement is elected and qualified, applies by its terms only to the direct election of directors by members, not to the election of delegates by members. No California court has held it to apply to the election of delegates to a permanent standing committee of the board of directors. However, no no court has ever ruled on this exact question and held that it does not apply to an election of delegates. Notwithstanding the foregoing, it is my professional opinion by our lawyer, Tom Hillgardner, which I also agree with, that it would not likely be construed by a court to apply to these bylaws to permit delegates to a permanent standing committee of the Board of Directors to remain in office beyond the 3-year term expressly set forth in the bylaws. A, where the term of delegates was staggered so that half of the delegates remain qualified and the permanent standing committee is not depopulated. And B, where the directors of Pacifica are selected, for the most part, by the 5-station delegate assemblies and not elected directly by the membership. And you can see California Corporate Code 5220D, not B, but D. It should be noted that as a result of the expiration of the terms of the 12 direct delegates, quorum of the local station board is now 7, not 13, according to Bylaws Article 7, Section 7. As for other rationales offered to purportedly create a situation where delegate terms conceivably could be extended by the bylaws, the National Election Supervisor has not reported a lack of quorum, thereby invoking Article 4. That did not happen of the bylaws, and permitting the delegates whose terms expired to remain in office for another full term. Nor could he do so without acting arbitrarily and capriciously, where whether a quorum exists is a question of fact that cannot be determined until the box ordered sealed by the court is opened and the ballots counted. It's almost finished. Furthermore, there is no executive director, and in any event, neither the executive director nor the Pacifica National Board has authority to declare that WBAI delegates hold over until their replacements are elected. If the delegates hold over until their replacements are elected and qualified, it must be because the Articles of Incorporation or bylaws so provide, or because California law so requires. Where the bylaws confer on the membership power to elect delegates, Bylaws Article 4, Sections 1 and 3, it would be contrary to the bylaws to believe that the term of delegates could be extended based upon an edict of either the executive director or the board of directors. Accordingly, where the term of the delegates elected in 2004 expired on December 1st, 2007, where the Articles of Incorporation and bylaws set a fixed term of 3 years without a holdover provision, and where California Corporate Code does not require a contrary result, during the pendency of this lawsuit and until the election results are certified, the local station board is properly constituted when only the 12 delegates elected in 2006 serve.
Madam Chair, I would just like to remind our audience, who I'm sure they're very intelligent, that what he just read is an opinion. It has no basis in fact or no weight or anything behind it. The local station board is a 24-member board, and if we're going to talk about quorum, which is a phrase that you always leave out, but when they're talking about quorum under Section 5, the election time frame of the bylaws, they say if no quorum of ballots is obtained by the extended date, then those delegates whose terms would have expired upon the election of new delegates, very clear, the bylaws describing that, saying delegates whose terms would expire upon the election of new delegates, right there, to be the ones remaining in office. But it's very clear, the bylaws do make that reference. It's section number 5. But when they talk about quorum, they clearly state that those delegates whose terms would have expired upon the election of new delegates, that's the operative phrase right there in the bylaws, and everything in the bylaws supports that. So he's just reading an opinion, and certainly anybody who objects to this meeting, any member, they don't have to participate in it. Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, excuse me, hang on. Mr. Cohen, will you please
Just
be
remind me
seated?
of an option.
May I have
There's a
that
seat right there for
inserted into the
you.
written
Okay, I'm gonna call on, I'm gonna take,
number one phrase.
all right. I wanna take from one side and then the other, so, Steve?
Madam Chair, I would, is this not on. Working?
Turn it on.
You got a mic on? It's on. It's on.
That mic isn't working, they gave us a dead mic.
I would like to point out that the legal opinion that Member Cohen read is no more nor less an opinion than the legal opinion coming from Dan Siegel, who is only an attorney providing an opinion, which moreover he admits in his own opinion has no basis in either the bylaws or California corporate code. He is winging it in favor of his preferred people on this board. And I would say his opinion is of far less value and far less objective than that of the opinion read by Mr. Cohen.
Okay, Ray?
Well, those who claim that these meetings are illegal have participated in the last meeting, have voted, and have even elected individuals. That is a clear admission that these meetings do stand as illegal.
A point of order. I did not say the meeting was illegal. I said the participation of people who were not elected in 2004,
Okay,
in 2006.
okay.
That's what's illegal about the meeting.
So I'm correcting
Okay.
them. They have voted in an election that included the people whom they claim don't belong on the board.
Well, we objected.
All right, please no crosstalk. Please cease the crosstalk. All right, the next person, who's the next to speak? Alex, did you have your hand up?
Yes. Just for the record, not only is this meeting not legal in my opinion, it's not legal because it was called by a member whose term has expired, first of all. The officers, some of the officers constituting this body have, their terms have expired. Resolutions have been passed by this body, including the votes of members whose term have expired. These will all be invalidated at some future point. So the further you go along this road, the more difficulty and the more problems you are creating for the Pacifica Foundation.
Nia?
We have 2 minutes left. Could I still make an amendment to this agenda?
Yes.
What are you in the middle of having a discussion
All
about?
right, we were.
and
We
your
have to
conduct
have a
for-
vote. We have to have a vote with regard to the chair's ruling. That this meeting is indeed in order.
You only have 3 minutes left.
All right, we only have 3 minutes left.
This is section 6 of Article 7, time and place. The LSB shall establish by majority vote the time and place of each meeting, provided however that the meeting shall occur, that no meeting shall occur sooner than 10 days from the vote of the vote scheduling, from the date of the vote scheduling and meeting, without the unanimous agreement of all the LSB officers, that a shorter period is required to address urgent matters. And in the event of less than 10 days notice, notice shall be given by telephone message to all LSB members at least 24 hours before the meeting. There shall be a meeting of the LSB in December each year to seek newly elected delegates and to elect LSB officers in early January to elect directors. Meetings shall be held within the local radio station area in facilities of sufficient size to accommodate members affiliated with that radio station and the public, preferably the station. Sorry,
Okay, this is
notice.
notice.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
regard to the notice.
Right.
Okay,
The
well,
public and
we'll
all
wrap that up
members
as soon
shall
as
be
we've taken this
notified
vote.
of each.
Yeah.
The public and all members shall be notified of each LSB meeting. 4 on-air announcements made during prime time on the radio station on 4 different days, beginning whenever feasible, at least 7 days prior to the day of the meeting, shall be considered adequate notice. In the event of LSB meetings convening on short notice for urgent business, all reasonable efforts shall be made to broadcast notice of the meeting at least 3 times during prime time for 2 days prior to the meeting. Whenever feasible, notice shall also be posted on the station's website at least 7 days prior to the date of each meeting.
I'm going to bring to a vote the issue of the chair's ruling that this is indeed in order for all of the members here present to sit here.
I ask for a roll call.
All right, and without objection, the secretary will call the roll. All those upholding the chair's ruling that those members who were elected in 2004 continue to sit until the issue of the elections has been resolved. They'll vote aye.
Oh, wait a minute.
Secretary, please call the roll.
There's still a shot.
Burton,
No.
Gorenstein,
Yes.
Brooks. No. Lisa Davis,
Yes.
Fishman. Flounders.
Yes.
Well, you do it for me.
Griffin?
I want to get the tapes.
Heffley.
No.
Should we?
Yes.
Lederer,
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Morgan,
No.
Rogers, Rhodes,
No.
Roberts,
Yes.
Ross. Silva. Yes. Steinberg,
No.
I have 12 yeses and 10 noes.
Okay, so that carries. I'm going to briefly address the issue of the motion to rescind the election of the vice chair on page 118 of Robert's Rules of Order, line 21. Instead of being given at a meeting, a notice can also be sent by mail to every member with the call of the meeting in which the matter is to come up for action, except where the rules of the organization provide otherwise. In such a case, the member desiring to give the notice writes a letter to the secretary alone, requesting that the notice be sent with the call of the next meeting, and the secretary should then do this at the expense of the organization, obviously, ruled, but it would seem to me from this that, Ray, the notice that you gave on the email list would not have been sufficient in any case, because it should have gone to the secretary, and then the secretary should have sent it to the group. So, that being the case, you will have to give notice at a meeting for the next meeting.
Now?
Yes, you may.
I'll bring this motion at the next regularly scheduled.
Okay.
I move to overrule, I object to that, actually, decision of the chair, and I'd like to explain why in a second.
Okay.
Sorry. The reason why I object, I think it's perfectly fine for Ray or anybody to send a message to the LSB list, because the secretary is on that list also, and we know that she gets it. So I think Ray's motion should be ruled out of order for the other reasons that you stated, but not for the fact that he didn't send it to the secretary, but the secretary is on the list, and it seems valid enough to me.
Well, all right. We're actually at the end, we're at the end of our time for this. Yes.
Madam Chair, actually, perhaps the confusion of this part of my point got lost. In fact, owing to the way the bylaws are worded, I don't know, maybe this, no, it's not going to be moved. This is going to be brought up at the next meeting. I would suggest that the previous notice just given is invalid, because Roberts on 643 says, if the bylaws provide that officers shall serve only a fixed term, such as for 2 years, an officer can be deposed from office only by following the procedures for dealing with offenses by members outside a meeting. That is, an investigating committee must be appointed, it must prefer charges, and a formal trial must be heard. Now, if we go to the bylaws, election of officers, it says these officers, for a term of 1 year, using the instant runoff voting method. So that complies with that part of Roberts. Our bylaws are phrased in such a way that it goes with the second part, which Roberts doesn't recommend, but covers, and it says that in fact you have to basically treat it as, you have to have a trial all that.
Absolutely, that is incorrect. I refer you, please. I refer you to section 5 on page 25, election of officers.
We don't all have the same.
All right, I'm going to read section 5. Each local station
Section
board
5
shall,
of which?
Article 7?
Article 7. Each local station board shall elect a chair, a vice chair, a recording secretary, and treasurer, who shall be elected annually at the December meeting of the LSP for a term of 1 year using the instant runoff method. Each of these officers shall serve at the pleasure of the LSB. And shall have those powers and shall perform those duties as may be prescribed by its LSB.
Each of these officers shall serve at the pleasure of the LSB means that they can indeed be removed without a trial. That's it. It's at the pleasure of the LSB. That's the sentence you didn't read following the sentence that you did read.
Madam Chair, yes, the pleasure of those two things are in there together. And
Yes.
perhaps they shouldn't both be in there together. However,
They are.
it says, however they are, so it says at the pleasure of the LSB. The fact that it has a definite term for an officer, and that's it, and that Robert's Rules on page 643 cites that if it's phrased that way, you must go through the whole trial thing. The pleasure of the LSB is then expressed through that whole trial thing and that kind of a vote.
Had that been the case, I think it would be specified in the bylaws. Article
No,
16 says, the rules contained in Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, as amended from time to time, shall govern the foundation in all cases where they are applicable in which they are not inconsistent with these bylaws or any special rules of order which the foundation may adopt. Clearly it's not, and I would say that clearly the intent of this was to make it relative.
Some sort
Right.
of vote.
It
Well,
has to be a
Roberts lays out how that has to be. It has to, it's put on page 643.
I'm sorry, your point is not well taken.
Also, Madam Chair, the chair is then saying that at any meeting, think about this a second. The chair wants to say that at any meeting where a majority decides to remove all the officers, they can just do it simply by having a previous notice?
Yes.
Do we really think that? Do we think, if we're interpreting the bylaws, do we think that they wanted to introduce that kind of systemic instability into the LSP?
Yes,
Yes.
You too?
yes.
Oh, I appeal, okay, so you're appealing what? You're saying what?
I call the
That the
officer.
previous notice is in order? If you're saying the previous notice is in order, I'm appealing that ruling.
Okay, all right. I've already spoken on this at some length. I think that the bylaws are quite clear. They say, each of these officers shall serve at the pleasure of the LSB. And that supersedes Robert's Rules of Order. Carol?
Move to have a roll call vote on the, move to uphold the chair.
All right. All right, all those in favor of upholding the chair's ruling?
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me state, let me read the part of Robert's rules here. The part that's relevant to this. It says, if the bylaws provide that officers shall serve only a fixed term as for 2 years, and skipping a few extraneous things, an officer can be deposed from office only by the following procedures for dealing with offenses by members outside a meeting. That is, investigating committee must be appointed, it must prefer charges, and a formal trial must be heard. It's very clear that that is the mechanism for the pleasure of the LSP to be expressed.
Indeed, it
doesn't,
does not.
nowhere in the bylaws does it say, and we mean, by the pleasure, we mean a simple majority vote. Simply, it doesn't say that. It says at the pleasure, but it also gives a specific term, 1 year, and that then goes to Roberts for how that pleasure will be exercised. So that's my point.
Yes, Carolyn?
Yeah, may I have the microphone, please? There's a, I'm sorry.
Turn it on. Ooh, please don't bang it.
Is there one that's working?
Do we have one back here?
Somebody pass a live mic down today.
Hello? 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 Is this working?
Okay, this is working, thank you very much. I think the question of, at the pleasure of the body needs some interpretation, and I think the common sense interpretation is that if in fact there is no mechanism prescribed, then the body can create its own. But I think this free-form parliamentary adventure here, deciding to ignore a procedure that's absolutely already laid out, is clearly improper and inappropriate. So I would really ask the chair to think about it and perhaps rescind your ruling.
All right. You call for a roll call vote on this, and without objection, all those in favor of upholding the chair's ruling that notice is correct, is in order.
Does that ruling include everything that you said, or just that sentence? Because I objected to part of what you had said as your rationale for.
All those upholding the chair's ruling.
Move to divide the
That it
question.
isn't, or there's no reason to divide the question.
I didn't move that,
That's what she's saying.
No, I'm just
All right.
suggesting that.
Okay.
That's how
All
it's
those in
done.
favor of upholding the chair's ruling that Mr. LaForest's notice is good and sufficient for a majority vote at the next meeting with regard to the removal of the vice chair. All those in favor of upholding the chair's ruling will say yes.
I thought this was a roll call vote.
And what? Notice, he's giving notice at this meeting for the next
I would
meeting.
argue that the notice he's given is in fact sufficient.
No,
But
we've
you would vote
already, I've
against the
already
chair,
ruled
then.
that it isn't.
Point of order, why is this going on? Is there a debate?
Aren't we voting?
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Serena has the floor.
Why?
Why? We're voting. How does the member
Raise
gain
the
the floor
point of
while
order.
we're voting?
Where you are.
We haven't started voting yet.
Oh, okay. So everybody
Please.
should go take-
Serena has the floor, please cease to interrupt.
It would seem to me that if in fact, the members sent a notice to a listserv on which the secretary and all members, have membership, that is in fact considered notice to the secretary as well. There's no need for her to then re-forward to the list what we had already forwarded. I see no reason why we should not be able to move forward now.
Well, it's supposed to go with notice of the meeting from the secretary. With notice of the meeting from the secretary. I've already ruled that. Nobody challenged it at the time. Right now, we're voting on the ruling that his notice is good and sufficient for a majority vote at the next meeting with regard to removal of the vice chair. Without objection, the secretary will please call the roll. Sorry? What we're voting on?
Yes.
All right. Voting to uphold the chair's ruling that Mr. LaForest's notice for bringing at the next meeting a motion to rescind the election of the vice chair that will then be decided by a majority vote is in order. All those in favor will please say yes, upholding the chair's ruling, and all opposed will say no. You're welcome.
Santiago,
Yes.
Burton, Ormsteen,
Yes.
Brooks, yes, Brown,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Cohen,
Yes.
Kathy Davis, Lisa Davis,
Yes, yes, yes.
We agree.
Happily.
Fishman,
Point of order, Madam
Please,
Chair.
please.
Please tell people to be quiet, keep their mouths
Yes,
shut when I'm talking.
excuse me.
You should be able to learn how to do that. I'm
Please.
just voting, I don't
Hello.
need you to come. Keep it to yourself.
Please,
I'm
please,
sorry.
please come to order. Everybody, please come to order. Please come to order. Please come to order. We're taking a vote. People will please refrain from editorial comment.
Stand up.
Please come to order. Please come to order. Please do not engage in crosstalk. All right, are you up to?
Flanders,
Fishman. Okay.
Flanders, yes, Griffin,
Yes.
Heffley, LaForest,
Yes.
Lederer,
Please come to order.
Yes.
Lucas,
Yes.
Morgan,
No to chaos.
Yes, just anarchy.
Rhodes,
No.
Roberts,
Absolutely.
Is that a yes?
Ross, Silva,
Yes.
Steinberg,
Yes.
Speech.
Burton,
Abstain.
Fishman, 15 yes, 3 no, and 4
Okay.
4.
All right. Okay, so we are now to the approval of the agenda as essentially not amended without objection. We've removed number 11, approval of minutes of 12:07.
You have more copies, by the way?
Yes, they're over there. They were over there. I put one out at each person's seat. So.
What is it?
He doesn't have a seat.
They were right on the table by Oma Wallace. Big pile of them. Okay. Okay, so all those in favor of approving the agenda, please. Number 11. No, we're not, it's just, all right, yes.
Please come,
Please come, all right. Everybody, okay, everybody, please come to order. I see folks all about here who are speaking without being called upon. Please do not engage in crosstalk. Please speak only when called upon. Ms. Heffley, please come to order. Okay, all those in favor of
Point of procedure?
Yes.
I would ask the chair not to name members with some bias. If you're going to name members, please name all the members who are speaking out of order.
I will
The
indeed.
status on the other side of the table has been extremely.
I will indeed name the next member who continues to speak after I have asked people repeatedly to come to order, regardless of which side of the table that person sits upon. All right. We are up to the approval of the agenda. The motion to rescind the election of vice chair obviously is not on this week's agenda. And the approval of the minutes without objection, we were going to remove. All those in favor of approving the minutes, the agenda. We don't have any further time to. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all opposed. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that carries. The next item on the agenda is the election of directors to the Pacifica National Board. I wanted to seem to have a great many nominees, and I guess I'm going to ask the secretary to read those out and determine who, in point of actual fact, those wish to run at this point. Yes.
The microphone? The microphone. It has to travel a long distance. It's a very short arm. Madam Chair.
Yes.
I would submit that we are required to have a delegates meeting in order to elect directors.
Okay.
And I know that, well, I think the chair probably has something to read, but then I'm going to have something to read after that. That's part of my point of order. Okay?
All right. A motion on annual LSB elections of directors passed by the Pacifica National Board, of which we are a committee. Whereas Article 7, Section 6B of the Pacifica bylaws states, quote, "There shall be a meeting of the local station board in December each year to seat newly elected delegates and to elect LSB officers, and in early January to elect directors. Resolve that. The Pacifica National Board determines that the annual election of directors by the delegates from each of the 5 local stations shall occur during any LSB or delegates meeting," please come to order, "held between January 1 and January 15, unless the Pacifica National Board grants a waiver due to exigent circumstances beyond the control of a particular LSB. 2, if the National Election Supervisor has determined that the results of a particular signal area's delegate election will not be certified by January 15, but that he or she intends to certify those results before the January in-person meeting of the Pacifica National Board, the Pacifica National Board may approve a waiver of the above listed bylaw section to permit an LSB or delegates meeting to hold its director's election after that certification and before the convening of the P&D meeting. 3, if the results of the delegates election in any signal area have not been certified at the time of that station area's election of directors, those directors shall only serve on an interim basis until the certification has occurred and a new director's election has been completed. As soon as feasible after the certification, the LSB or delegates shall convene a meeting to hold elections for directors for the remainder of the term, whose term shall begin immediately upon their election and shall extend until the election of directors in the following year.
For the purpose of determining consecutive terms as defined in the bylaws, the failure of any director to be elected for an interim term shall not count as an interruption of consecutive service if that director is subsequently elected by the newly constituted delegate assembly or LSB. Where LSBs have taken action at regularly scheduled meetings this month to deal with the delays occasioned in electing officers and PNB members due to the delays in tabulating the votes and certifying the election, they shall not be required to meet again to elect temporary officers or PNB members in compliance with the terms of this motion. They shall, of course, elect officers and permanent PNB members upon the certification of these elections.
Pardon me, Barbara?
Yes.
What's that that you're reading?
I'm reading a motion that was passed by the Pacifica National Board last night.
I didn't hear that.
Do we all get copies of this?
Did we send that to us?
No, it has not been sent yet. I have a copy here. Somebody, okay, thank you.
Oh, that'll be good. Madam Chair.
Okay, actually, we can't leave, so somebody else can. Maybe all right.
You see,
yeah.
This relates to your other thing. How about you got up to double shower? You know, told the officers.
All righty. Yes, come to
Madam
order,
Chair,
please. Come to order.
I would point out that although the PNB can make a nice motion and declare itself capable of granting waivers and changing things, the PNB cannot violate the bylaws. No matter how many people on the PNB vote that they can do so, they can't violate the bylaws. The LSB is a committee of the Pacifica National Board, but the delegates, when we meet as delegates to elect directors, we are not acting as a committee of the PNB. We are acting as delegates. They are separate things, which is why separate meetings are mentioned in the bylaws. To say that a committee is electing the officers of the parent body doesn't really make sense if you think about it. That is why we have a delegates meeting to do it. The bylaws, of course, specify delegates meetings in order to change the bylaws. And they also say that the delegates are supposed to be to elect directors. So we need to have a delegates meeting, and for us to do this here, no matter what the PNB says, is, I would suggest, quite out of order and illegal, and the results will be null and void. Even if the PNB decides that the PNB is going to have to go back at some point and correct the error. So we're going to screw up the PNB this way.
Okay, I'm just going to reread the election, wait, no, that's not it. Somebody just walked off with the motion, but it made it, the bylaws are actually contradictory of it. Okay? Thank you. Whereas in Article 7, Section 6B of the Pacifica Bylaws states there shall be a meeting of the LSB in December each year to seat newly elected delegates and to elect LSB officers, and in early January to elect directors. So that's a meeting of the LSB. So the bylaws contradict themselves on this point, and I am ruling that it is perfectly in order for us to continue, and that's it.
Move to overturn that decision.
Okay.
Appeal,
Yes.
move to appeal the decision.
I just read exactly. Article 7, Section 6B. All right, so it's been moved. It has not been seconded.
Second.
All right, it's moved and seconded to overturn the chair's ruling that the election to the PNB directors,
Roll call.
interim directors is in order. Okay,
Roll call.
I think we've spent a great deal of time discussing this one way or another. And without objection, the secretary will please call the roll. The yes vote upholds the chair's decision that the election of interim PNB officers is in order at this time. PNB directors.
Santiago?
Yes.
Burton?
Absolutely not.
Borenstein?
Yes.
Brooks? Yes.
Oh.
Clay,
Yes.
Cohen,
No.
Kathy Davis, Lisa Davis,
With all my heart, yes.
Fishman,
No, no.
Saunders. Yes. Griffin.
Yes.
Eflin.
Absolutely not.
Forrest.
Yes.
Lederer.
Yes.
Lucas.
Absolutely, yes.
Martin.
Absolutely no.
Doesn't everybody have a
Yes or no,
thesaurus?
yes or no is sufficient, thank you very much.
Rhodes.
She says abstain.
Roberts.
Yes.
Ross.
No.
Silva. Yes. Steinberg.
Abstain.
Yes, 8 no, 2 abstentions.
Okay, so moving right along, the other thing I wanted to ask, if there's no objection, the secretary is going to read the list, the rather long list of all those who were nominated, and we're going to ask who still wishes to run, to be a candidate. I'm going to ask that the candidates, if there's no objection, keep their speeches to 2 minutes. Is there any objection to that? That will help us move along. So we'll begin with the listener candidates. Here, use the mic.
Nia Bediako? Do you accept?
Yes.
Burton?
Yeah.
Borenstein?
No.
Yes. Brooks? No. Brown?
No.
Okay, I just want to clarify, what we're doing is, this is not a roll call vote, this is a list of all those people who were nominated to
I should change my tone of voice, I'm sorry.
Right, you should change your voice. Do you accept, is the answer, is the question to ask. We're asking if those people who were nominated accept the nomination to be a director of this municipality. All right. Here's the microphone, I'm sorry.
I'm Welly Clay. Do you accept?
What? He said no. He's not.
Mitchel Cohen, do you accept?
Yes.
Lisa Davis, do you accept?
Yes, I do, thank you. Great,
Andre Fishman, do you accept? No. Sarah Flanders, do you accept? No. Ray LaFarge, do you accept?
No.
Father Lucas, do you accept?
No.
Jamie Ross, do you accept?
No.
Erica Silva, do you accept? No. Alex Steinberg, do you accept?
Good.
What?
Yes.
You said yes?
It's for staff.
Okay.
All right, so we now have 5 acceptances. They are in alphabetical order.
Nia Bediako, Carolyn Burden, Mitchel Cohen, Lisa Davis, and Alex Steinberg.
Point of order, I had nominated Patty Heffley on the list.
You had, okay. Patty, do you accept?
Yeah.
You do. Okay, that makes 6. 6 nominees. Okay? I'm going to, we usually take these in alphabetical order. Do people mind if for the sake of fairness, we just flip it this time and the speeches will come in reverse alphabetical order without objection?
Why?
That would mean Alex can speak first. The people at the end of the alphabet are always stuck going last. His first name does begin with A. Alex, would you like to make your speech first, please?
Sure.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
If I am elected to the national board,
It's not working.
Not?
It's working.
If I'm elected, I pledge that I will do my best to clean up the Pacifica Foundation from all the cronyism and criminality that is now destroying it. I will move to replace current management at WBAI and at the Pacifica Foundation. We need a clean house. We need to cleanse this foundation of all sorts of elements that are destroying it. And only if we can rest on a sound foundation can move forward to fulfill the mission of the Pacifica Foundation, which is to provide the American people, not just a small fraction of it, but the entire populace with an alternative viewpoint, which includes politics, culture, and the full flowering of the arts. We don't do that right now. That's all.
That's admirably brief. Who's next? Next? Me.
I'm sorry. Burden.
No,
Carolyn
next
Burden.
we're going the other way.
Oh, we're going the other way.
Next.
Heffley.
Yes.
Patty Heffley.
Patty Heffley.
Hi, I'm Patty Heffley. I was the director for 2 years before this. The condition of the foundation is dire. The people on the Pacifica National Board at this time, especially from this station, have only their own interests at heart, whatever they are, because we have a failing station. So I don't know, the smirks, the smug faces across the way should be ashamed of themselves due to the fact that their station can't even pay its bills. You laugh and smile and bring on your committees to investigate racism and sexism and all these things, wasting all the time of the foundation, and we have a pathetic financial situation. We have a CFO, and any other foundation would have been fired years ago due to incompetence, but yet these people can't even define who is in charge of the foundation, making it, never defining the CFO being working not alongside the executive director, but under him where they belong in the foundation like this. The smiles and the smirks when our station is nearly bankrupt is really disgusting. The tyranny of the majority has never shown itself like it has here. Therefore, that's why I'm running for the board, because it seems that the national board needs some help.
Okay, also admirably brief. Next is Lisa Davis. Lisa Davis.
I guess I'll stand. I don't think that's any of your business, but you'll find out as soon as I speak. As soon as I finish talking, you'll find out why.
Go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, a failure. Pay attention.
Please come to order.
Anyway, I'm currently serving on the national board. I've been proudly serving for 2 years. On some of the comments that we can hear, you can see that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in this country and in America. Look at that sign over there.
Thank you.
And I'm proud of the work that I'm doing. I'm proud of the committee to investigate allegations of racism and sexism, because this is definitely the standard. I don't have to take it any longer, although there are those who think, because of their inheritance, that they rule the world and that I'm supposed to. But that is not what this is about. The Pacifica and the WBAI, it has been a station and a radio station that has chronicled the progressive movements, the struggles of people, and especially people of my ancestors whose backs and whose shoulders I proudly stand on. I ask that I continue to be able to do the important work that I've started. I also am on the National Programming Committee, the Technology Committee, and the Audit Committee. And my work and my voice speaks for itself. I ask that you continue to let me do the work that I started. Thank you.
Okay. Mitchel Cohen. Maybe you should take medication for that. I'm sorry, just, well, we'll wait.
So that 54 over this person's name, we forgot.
What? All right, Mr. Cohen, you're next.
Yes. WBAI and Pacifica are in very dire straits. Those who minimize that, I think, are doing an injustice to not only to the listeners and the staff at all the stations throughout the network, but also to the anti-war and the anti-fascist movement in this country, which desperately needs a healthy Pacifica and a healthy BAI to counter the type of terror that's coming from Washington and relayed through the presidential candidates of both parties and so forth. To not treat seriously what our role is here, to not try and save the network, and instead to end up in all the narrow-minded bickering and refusal to raise the kind of funds, the refusal to put the network on an even keel that needs to be, is to do not only a disservice to our stations, but also to the movements that which all of us sitting around this table belong. It's a very serious charge that we are, and a lot of times people here, sometimes we treat it with levity or sometimes not the kind of seriousness that we need. So I, as a member of the National Board, would try to do my best to help restore the kind of priorities that the board should be focusing on, which should be, first and foremost, to tofu up the programming across the network as a whole to deal with the political issues that we face and also the financial questions that we face. Just the other day, KPFA did a really good job. They videotaped the first ever Green Party convention in which they had different Green Party candidates argue it's the only party that's against the war that's running in this election and for impeachment. And KPFA videotaped that, and they're making that available to all the networks as of Tuesday night so that they could, through all the stations. On the other hand, we have in New York a program director who refused to even send out coverage to the largest anti-war march in the past 2 years here in New York City. And BAI refused to cover that and made all sorts of silly comments about that march. Why should we cover that and so forth?
If you could wrap it up.
So I think that this is, not only is it true, but we have the quotes and we have the tapes and we have the record of this. So if you want to say it's not true, you're not meeting your responsibilities as a board member to why people elected us. I'm finishing. So the idea that radio station management could fire people indiscriminately, such as Robert Knight and others at the station, that has to be put an end to. There has to be a process put forth at BAI and Pacific as a whole that puts forth the best of what we are, and not the stupid bickering that goes on here.
Your time is up. All right. Okay, and Carolyn Burden, can you pass her that microphone, please?
One microphone on this side.
Okay.
Most of you know who I am, and I just want to reiterate the reasons why I came on this board in the first place were to work on the elections committee and to make sure that this board, this station, had a foundation in fair and honest elections. That was my major goal. I have not succeeded, and I want to return to the board and work on this until, in fact, the elections process has been cleaned up. We have cleaned the list of all the people on it who were placed there illegally, and make sure that the list is protected from people who are using it for their own purposes illegally. The people of the station have to understand, the members of the station have to understand that you've not been well represented by your LSB members. Most of the members on this board are here because they have a very narrow constituency. They conceive of the radio station as a megaphone, and they want to get their own message out. They're not so much concerned with free radio and freedom of speech and really an integrated process that helps members understand the air and helps people, in fact, understand issues. They only want their side of the issue. That has to stop. The issues have to be more broadly expressed than that. Airtime has been bartered for power. That has to stop. There has to be some return to rule of law on this board. And so I would suggest that people voting for directors and also voting in the long run, think carefully about what you're voting for and who you're voting for. There has to be a return to a rule of law, not to individuals. Okay, I would really ask the chair to restrain people who make remarks like bullshit after a member makes a speech. I think it's totally inappropriate.
Please refrain from editorial comment following the speeches. I didn't hear an objection to applause, but people will please refrain from making editorial comment after speeches. Mia?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nia Bediaco, and I must say that I do agree that you should be careful who you're voting for, as the last person just said. I am currently the local station board member, the former vice chair, and I've heard some of the speeches before, and I think you need to pay close attention. One person said that they would like to run on replacing management and cleaning house. I'm sure those of you who've been around here for a while are very familiar with who said that. So you're right. Be very careful who you vote for. I don't plan to clean house. I don't plan to replace management because that is not my role. And I wish if you did.
Speakers, please step outside for a minute.
Okay? So that's why we're here now, with not having elections and people claiming that this is not an illegal body, whatever that phrase is. Just again, be careful who you vote for. That should be my new mantra. So to save the network, they filed a lawsuit, two of them. I'm sure you notice who they are. I promise you, I will not participate in a fake board. That is not my thing. When I went there, I went to observe. I did not participate in any way, shape, or form. That's not my fiduciary responsibility, and I will not violate that. The other thing is,
if you could wrap up, please.
Okay. Well, all right. And in terms of covering the march, I guess people don't listen to the station because if you listen to the station, you certainly heard the march being covered. But that's the type of propaganda that I will not participate in. I will be respectful. But if someone does say something to me that I don't like, then I am certainly going to retaliate because I'm not going to just roll my place.
Time. Okay. All right. We have come to the end of the speeches. I have here, we need some volunteers, a couple of people who will, somebody to hand out the ballots and collect them, and a couple of people to help Marquez with the count, or just to, keep an eye on the count. Can we have volunteers?
Point of order, just for a second. I just wanted to renew the objection to who is voting at this point in time. Since we're voting, it's different than what we talked about before. I'm not going to read the whole letter.
Noted.
Just
Duly noted. Yeah.
Objecting that only people who should be allowed to vote are those who are continuing delegates and not people whose terms have expired.
We've addressed this issue. Your objection is duly noted. William, are you available to pass out and collect ballots? And we need somebody else besides William to help with the ballot count. Yeah. So I'm going to ask people, this is the way this works. You rank people, okay, in order 1, 2, however many. Just for the people that you wish to vote for, there are 24 there. Ready, counting. And please do not put 2 people with the same number. It makes it a nightmare. And please be sure to vote. We are voting for, the candidates are as follows.
Point of information?
Yes.
Is it somehow against the rules to vote?
No, it's not against the rules, but well, it's, how can I say this? It's murder on the software, delays the voting, and generally speaking, deletes your vote, actually. So as a voting, neither is a voting strategy, from your own personal point of view. Carolyn can explain it because Carolyn. You gave a handout on that. Yeah, Carolyn can explain that to you. Or do you have the handout? Could you give it to Kathy?
I just lent it to somebody.
Sorry. Yes, please give him out.
You were going to list the candidates, Barbara?
Yes, the list of candidates.
Okay. Nia Bediaco,
I'll
we'll
read
put
it.
the check mark.
All right. Nia Bediaco, Carolyn Burton, Tibby,
No, you won't read.
I'm not reading them all. Nia Bediaco, Carolyn Burton, Mitchel Cohen, Lisa Davis, and Alex Steinberg, and Patty Heflin. Now, I believe we should go on to the staff election because it involves a completely different pool of people that we'll be voting for, so there's not really a conflict here with the,
Should we label this listener director on the top?
or you can label a listener director on the top or the outside or wherever you like. Madam Chair? Yes. Oh, we have 2 minutes left for the election of the National Board Director. It's 30 minutes? It's supposed to be 30 minutes. We started at 20 after.
That's for the staff.
The staff?
Are you collecting now or handing out?
I'll just do that.
Yes, there should be one blank. Yes. So he's handed out, did everybody get a ballot? Yes. Is everybody ready for their ballots to be collected? Yes, for the staff. Okay, everybody's ready to have their ballot collected. Staff, which staff people were nominated? The secretary will please read their names and ask, whoa, if they all still, if they accept or not.
Sure.
Kathy Davis, do you accept?
Yes.
Roger Kilgauer, do you accept?
No.
Carolyn, do you have a?
I'm sorry, that's it right there on my.
Bob Lederer, do you accept?
Yes.
Or Paul Martin, do you accept?
Yep.
Sean Rhodes, do you accept?
No.
Serene Roberts, do you accept? Okay, I now have 3 candidates for staff director. Kathy Davis, Bob Lederer, and R. Paul Martin.
Okay, 2 minute speeches each. Will the vice chair be so? I make a motion. If the vice chair will be so kind as to chair for a hot minute while people are making their speeches, that's 2 minutes.
Wouldn't I be making a speech?
Yes.
She's making a
Oh, you're making a
speech.
speech, so the secretary, please be so kind as to chair. I'll be right back. 2 minute speeches each per. And if Nia will be so kind as to keep time. Should be.
Aren't we starting from the end of the alphabet?
You want to start from the end of the
Yes,
alphabet?
to take reverse alphabetical
Okay,
order.
R. Paul.
Okay. So I have a.
No.
Oh.
Oh, if I had wings, I would bring
Oh, if we both had long arms, it's so easy to reach things. All right, there's something very important that gets ignored a lot, and that's this. WBAI is a radio station. People don't pay attention to that. They think it's some other damn thing. They think it's a way of getting a job that they don't qualify for, or something like that, or a nice little soapbox for their group to go on the air. It's a radio station. It has to live within the media of the 21st century. We're not doing that at this time. The Pacifica Foundation, it owns the Pacifica Network. It's a radio network. It's not a club for people's pals. It is not an employment agency for people's pals. It isn't about cronyism. It's supposed to be about a radio network that is supposed to be trying to survive in the new media world of the 21st century. The Pacifica Foundation is failing to do that. WBAI has had only one successful marathon in the past 4 years that has met its goal. It is managing to screw up the entire rest of the network's finances, and that's a problem. The rest of the network is falling apart. If elected, I will try to see if we can make the Pacifica National Board responsible for what it's supposed to be doing. Make the National Board do its job, make sure the stations do their jobs, and have everything survive. I will not use the position to try to get myself a patronage job at the station. So vote for me and try to save Pacifica from the crap that's going on.
Well, you'll get free food.
Don't forget what else you get. In reverse alphabetical order is Bob Lederer.
Okay, I've been on the Pacifica National Board now for 3 years.
Time for a change.
I've been on the National Board for 3 years, and I'm seeking.
Please come to order.
To speak, wow.
And I'm seeking to be reelected to continue the work I've been doing. We've heard a lot of talk tonight about the Pacifica Network and WBAI allegedly being in a dire crisis of bankruptcy and other such things. We do have financial problems, there's no question about that. Part of those problems have been generated by the type of people on this board who have done nothing but hurl unsubstantiated allegations and irresponsible innuendo against the people trying to work to keep the network and the station
Carl Rowe, go home.
Please come to order.
All
right,
Zach? No, you gave it up. Brooks keeps it till the end of the item.
All right.
So the programming doesn't have to do.
Point of order, Madam Chair. Please request that everybody come to order and allow the speaker to speak uninterrupted. I did not hear anybody interrupt the previous speaker.
Are you kidding? Can't have it. A lot of people interrupt.
Please come to order.
You couldn't hear it because you were out of the room.
All right, so what's important here is that we are entering, in fact, we're already in a new era as far as new media, the use of the internet, all kinds of forms of digital distribution, and that's an issue that I've been deeply involved in at the national board level, authoring a resolution that led to a task force that is now just resulted in approval of a plan to move very strongly into this area to get Pacifica's stellar programming out to a much broader audience internationally over the internet. And this is the type of work that needs to continue and needs to be built on, rather than always hurling attacks at political opponents and trying to undermine the management that's working diligently to continue the legacy of Pacifica. I would like to remind people that this is a radio station and a network with a particular mission and a particular history about lifting up the voices of the oppressed and those who have been the least enfranchised in society, and we can never forget that. And that is something that I will continue to fight to maintain as one of the primary commitments of programming and of the whole direction of this network against any forces that would try to say that this is just some sort of open forum for anyone of whatever kind of right-wing viewpoint or any other view that is trying to be heard in this society. This is a specific platform for the voices that are locked out on all levels. And that will be the commitment that I maintain through my tenure if I'm reelected.
You are the main
Listener comments. There'll be time for listener comments. We have a time set aside. You may have the floor then. The next in alphabetical order is Kathy Davis.
Thank you.
Hello? Yes. All right. I've been working at WBAI for a number of years, 4 or 5 years in the position that I've been working. And I became motivated to run as a member of the LSB, not because I didn't have enough work to do, I had plenty of work to do, but I felt that there was an opportunity to bring some of the real needs of the radio station to the attention of this board and to the attention of the LSB. And I don't feel that that has really taken place. And it's unfortunate that we have such strong positions and such strong accusations going back and forth, but in truth, WBAI has had some serious problems, serious managerial problems, serious organization problems, serious planning problems. We've had years of interim directors, people who have not been good leaders, who are uninspired, and we have a program director who I believe is tired and sick and needs a lot of help, won't accept a lot of help. But I think that we have fundamentally failed every single fund drive, except for the one where we came right back from the coup. And we have systematically gotten worse and worse and worse. We have systematically gotten more disorganized in how those drives have been done. We have systematically spent less time working on the fundraising, which is so important to what we do. This board doesn't work systematically on fundraising. The national board doesn't work systematically on fundraising. And that is my first priority, is that BAI survive enough to work out all of these philosophical battles, which are going to go on. And there's another aspect of why I ran for this board and why I want to run for the PNB, participate in the PNB, because there is and has been, it has been my experience, that there is an insidious state of harassment, intimidation going on in WBAI of the staff, of the paid staff. And I've experienced it in council meetings, I have experienced it in board meetings, I have experienced it by people undermining my work, I have experienced it about all manner of ways. And I have not, any time that I have tried to bring to the table what needs to be done, that we need to plan a fund drive at least 30, 40 days ahead. We should be planning them a year ahead. That we should be organizing ourselves and working together and really bringing some funds into this organization and not covering it all up based on who they are and whatever they might represent. That's not the point that I'm making. But I feel that we need to look at things as they are. Fine, thank you.
William is in the back. William?
William?
Somebody else.
Somebody else.
Somebody else?
Or somebody else. We need these ballots to be handed out and collected.
Distribution of ballots. Director ballots?
Yes.
No, he's not on stage.
Okay. All right. So, okay, having completed the election, not the election, but at least the business of all but the vote count for the staff director, we move on to the next set date of next local. What?
Can the chair remind everyone what the procedure is for voting?
All right, the procedure for voting here is that this is what instant runoff. So basically, you vote for either the one candidate that you want, or the two candidates that you want, or the three candidates that you want, in that order. These votes can be counted by hand, actually. We'll remind the folks in the back. These votes can be counted by hand. Yes.
What is the difference?
Well, the difference is that there's only one position to be filled. When there's more than one position to be filled, I think here's the single transferable. Okay, so put number one for your first choice, have second and third choices, and rest in that order. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is to set the date of the next local station board meeting. The week of, the week of the 18th, the 19th is my optimum day. I've got 23. Can we get some ideas of February? Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Excuse me, can I try to get a shot of them Counting the votes on.
Oh, Monday's a holiday, never mind. So I'm looking at the 19th and 20th then. Bob?
Oh.
Right, okay. All right, how many cannot make it on the 20th, that's a Wednesday? How many cannot make it on the 20th? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? How many cannot make it on the 19th?
No, the 19th.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a lot. How many is that?
What about Thursday the 21st?
What? Thursday the 21st? How many cannot make Thursday the 26th?
I can't make.
No, people will not come on that day. Okay, that's out.
What's wrong with the 20th?
I don't know.
It said the 20,
Seven
People said they couldn't make the 20th.
said they could make it 19-5.
Oh, something like that, not a million.
Okay. So we'll vote for, all those in favor of meeting on the 19th.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
you've already put into the agenda that you're gonna hold a trial. Attorney meter or some.
Oh, we're gonna have.
If you're gonna do that, it will be highly, demanding behavior.
That's true. But it's not a trial.
Counting the votes.
Whatever it is. But the other thing that we need to consider is that, is this around here, it's time to schedule that, we have long let slide delegates meeting in which we would consider the rule of this round of this board. Here we go.
Why do we need a delegates meeting? Let's just have it where we did everything else.
Please come to order. Please come to order. There's no grounds.
After we behave.
All right, we'll have to come back to this later. Please come to order. Please come to order. Please come to order.
PBA.
Right, please come to order.
Get ready to call the cops again.
Please come to order.
Ray Kelly.
Yes.
everybody. You have it, since you named somebody on this side, you only said come to order.
911, call them now.
I spoke probably with my name. Ms. Davis, please come to order. Ms. Heffley, please come to order. Anybody else want to speak out of turn? So I can name you. All right, yes. Mr. Cohen, please come to order. We're not. We're waiting for Mr. Brown to come back because I would like to try to schedule that delegate meeting at that time. So we will have to come back to this issue when Mr. Brown comes back. The next item on the agenda is the election of the treasurer, which we didn't get to last time.
Point of order.
Yes.
Madam Chair. It says here in the bylaws that the officer shall be elected in December. We didn't do it in December, so I don't know really, that's what the bylaws say. That's Article. Where is it?
We weren't able to complete that order of business.
Article 7, Section 5. It says they shall be elected at the December meeting. So we didn't elect anyone in the December.
That's true.
Well, that's what the bylaws say. So how are you going to get around that today? You got a plan?
Yes.
Did you figure out a motion to get that straight?
We have to have a treasurer.
We have a treasurer. They can just continue. Right? I mean, come on. We messed up. We missed the opportunity in December. Now the bylaws don't give any information for doing anything.
All right, everybody
So
please
what do
come
you
to
got
order.
planned
Bob,
now?
can I recognize Bob and then.
Of course, Bob, he'll have answers.
Okay, obviously, when this board put on the agenda for the December meeting, the election of all 4 officers, it required a certain level of cooperation by the entire board to get through the agenda. For whatever reason, that didn't happen, even though it was clearly on the agenda to happen. So the bylaws are always interpreted in light of the reality of what's going on.
Please come to order. Please come to order. Please come to order.
Every bylaw and every law is interpreted based on what is reasonable. And when there's been an effort to put it, when it has been put on the agenda, there was an effort to get to it. Other business took longer than it should have, and as a result it didn't get there, then it's common sense that at the very next meeting, then you take up the election that should have been done ideally at that December meeting. So I think it's completely in order to go forward with this tonight.
Madam Chair?
Yes. I'm sorry.
It is a practice of Pacifica, both on the PNB and on local boards, that
Please come to order, everybody.
best effort be tried. That we do our best to do it, best good faith effort in meeting the ballot requirement. And in cases like these, that we do it as soon as possible. This was being requested.
That would be the best good faith effort. Okay, all right. Do we have nominations? Please come to order. Do we have nominations for treasurer?
Are we now going to come to a conclusion about the date of the next meeting?
All right, let's pick that back up. Now that Steve is back. Mr. Brown, I'm attempting to set the delegates meeting at which we'll consider the motion to remove you from this board. Are you available on the 18th or 19th? You'll be what? You'll be in Taipei on both of those dates?
Yes.
So we will not see you at a meeting on either of those dates? No.
What about the President's Day? Will you be there?
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
moving on.
All right, I'm going to announce.
Let's do it now.
All right.
Wait,
All right.
I'd like to move to change the agenda so that we do his thing now and get it over with.
Do one thing now. Whose thing now?
The Steve Brown thing.
No. Yes.
But
All right.
Madam Chair, please.
Yes?
I'm sorry, did I not have the floor?
She did speak first.
But she didn't have
Oh,
the
that's
floor.
true, she didn't have the floor. All right, that's
Neither did
true.
you.
That's true. She has to be recognized. Serene has the floor.
Thank you. I would move that you and Mr. Brown consult outside of the meeting to identify a date within the next 30 days where we
Continue the cleansing.
Please come to order.
Ethnic cleansing,
that was
right?
noticed if it was in November or
Yes.
December. We've been long waiting for him
Yes.
to make himself available.
Okay.
That is my motion.
All right.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded
I'd like to make
that,
an amendment.
all right.
I'd like to amend it so that we do that now, that you set the guidelines now when you consult, and just have that, whatever it is, the hearing, the trial, to remove Steve Brown from the board, right now, right here.
All right, it's been moved that we move forward with that immediately. That requires a 2/3 vote to amend the agenda. All those in favor?
Do I have a roll call vote on that, please?
Please. Madam Chair.
No, that was an amendment to an.
It's an amendment.
To a motion.
It would be a substitute
Was it
motion.
an amendment to her motion?
Yes, it's amended.
All right, so the substitute motion is that rather than the chair and Mr. Brown working out a date within the next 30 days that he can be available,
We do it now.
we do it now. Okay.
Stay waiting.
Yes.
Madam Chair, point of information.
We have a point of order here. Can we do that first?
I have a point of order. Are we in the process of doing a treasurer's selection, or what are we doing now?
We went back to setting the date of the next
Madam
meeting.
Chair.
We went back to setting the date of the next meeting. Yes, Serene? Yes, Serene?
Not this chair, we don't talk chairs. Go ahead.
All right, we're moving on. We went back to setting the date of the next meeting. All those in favor, well, I think I'm just gonna go, because Mr. Brown is not gonna be available. We still need to have a local station board
Point
meeting.
of, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what point to make, but just to make a point. I would like to take Tuesday out of the contention and find another day? Can we explore other options? I feel that if this board moves forward to deliberately set a meeting for a date that I can't attend, and to come here to speak against me is immoral, if not against the bylaws. And I think if anyone here is decent, then they should pick a date that makes it possible for me to be here.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Serene.
I just need some clarification about where we are in the process. We were working on the date.
Right.
The date is related to the next meeting, and I brought a motion with regard to handling the Brown issue.
That's correct. And
So
it was
that,
amended.
and we should vote on that.
Yes.
Then set the date and move on. If
Yes.
there's someone who feels a special urgency, as I hope all members do, to participate in the workings of the board, I hope that with a month's notice, people will be able to adjust their schedules to be here. Everyone has a schedule. Everyone has commitments. The idea that some people's commitments are somehow more valid than other people's commitments is the kind of refrain that I keep hearing every time we get around to talking about dates of meetings. We agree.
Please come to order. Please come to order.
I am in order. If we can do it, why that certain people are just monkeying around and don't have commitments that must be honored is outrageous. It's an insult to every one of us.
Madam Chair, the member is extremely confused. My statement was exactly the opposite, that everyone's commitments are important.
Yes, I heard you.
I heard you. Please, the idea that it was completely a snide remark that insulting people as if certain commitments should not be honored above all else. That is outrageous. And it's an insult to every member of this board when they have commitments of that sort.
Please, all right, please, let's have an end to the crosstalk. What I believe in, and Ms. Roberts will correct me if I misheard her, but what I believe I heard Ms. Roberts say was that it is her belief that these meetings should take priority over other commitments. Was that a correct understanding
I think everyone
in her view?
determine their priorities, the work of the board is important, and someone's individual schedule cannot constantly be put above everyone else's.
Okay.
That never happened to anyone here. I resent the implications that it happens to anyone here. It's a point of personal privilege. I wasn't taken again. These remarks are being made and are insulting people present. It's outrageous.
Yes, our Paul.
I'd like to make a motion. If I get a microphone.
Yes.
I would like to raise a point.
Actually, we only have, how much time do we have to set the date of the next meeting? 5 minutes? I think we're well past our time. Yeah.
I have heard again and again, the member makes remarks about people being confused. This is insulting and a derogatory remark. I would like Chair to ask the member to stop making that stupid remark. The other thing.
All right. Right now, please come to order. Please come to order. Right now, I will ask that people not characterize the state's emotions or conditions of other members, and I will ask that members not characterize what other members have said.
May I continue then with my point? We have
exhausted our time for this.
I hate to say it, but it's 9:15 and by special order.
To be
Hopefully one that works.
Okay, there's a special order for public comment. There's a special order for public comment, unless the entire board or 2/3 of the board wishes to change that. That's what's going to happen.
Hurry up and make your decision.
15 minutes.
Okay, this is the second comment I was going to make tonight, but I think it comes first. Subject, R. Paul Martin on their commentary and his take on the last LSB meeting, which I did not attend. R. Paul stating to his audience, they, the Lisp Prague faction, was one of, look, I spent the whole lifetime not speaking in front of an audience or reading in front of an audience, and I have to stand up in front of you characters and make a goddamn jackass of myself. But anyway, I'm going to continue. Jackass or not. Anyway, R. Paul Martin stating to his audience, They, the Lisprog faction, was warned of menacing physical action was expected to take place. So security persons were in place to protect them from assault. Where is the truth in this matter? He sure paints a frightening picture full of ogres and criminal types of justice and unity and board members. He's using on-air time for propaganda that seems to fringe on libel and possible untruths. The public hearing this rubbish with no counter probably falls for it. Again, I say, get rid of R. Paul Martin off the air. And last time I'd like to go for my
Chair.
Yeah, this is something that I can't remember if I stated on November 20th, 07 at Livingston Street. I may have and I may not have, but it seems to pertain anyway. And if you can hear it a second time, too damn bad. Are we living and witnessing the Thanksgiving coup? A court order stopping voting members from coming up to the station Friday, November 23rd to drop off their ballots, since the election period was extended a week. This done by the right-wing faction of the board, etc. Not the correct wing faction of the board. The right-wing faction members, etc., perpetrators, Cohen, Heffley, Steinberg, and I think Jager, I'm sure with the sanction of their fellow scumbags, a term acceptable by the New York Times for their crossword puzzle, if you didn't know. Are they living by the letter of the law, or just doing this out of malicious spite, doing harm to the station? They are no longer referred to as Lisprog. That's, but as independents. What a farce. If they win a majority, the station will be in for hell. Christmas coup, Thanksgiving coup, shameless, beware, Martin.
You're the one with a tiny bit of brain lodged in your
Right behind you, please come to order. Please just let people speak. If you want to speak, you can get in line and speak.
Most listeners of WBAI don't have much of a clue as to what's going on in the governance part of it. Some of them, however, may have gotten an idea that there was something funny going on, something wrong, either incompetence or something deliberate, when, say, 20 or 30% of them did not receive ballots this year. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but it's something which the average listener can understand pretty well. And I'd like to suggest that this is simply symptomatic of what permeates the entire management and governance of Pacifica, and which is responsible for the meltdown that we see BAI in right now. We've heard an opinion tonight from a lawyer who changes hats back and forth from executive director to lawyer, back and forth. We have a national management which ignored the recommendations of the PNB this summer to clean up the voting list rolls, ignored their instructions to mail first class, and deliberately, knowingly violated the law by refusing, in a timely manner, which is 10 days, to comply with a request for a list to mail campaign materials to people. Now, we have a nominee here, a candidate who will probably be elected, a man who was in the forefront of those who tried to block the director's right of inspection, the director's right to see what is in the books. In other words, something which could have been done without resorting to a court of law. We've come to a sorry point, however, where indeed the director may have to resort to a court of law simply to enforce their rights as a director to inspect the books and see what's going on. We know, for example, that we have one member of the management of the AI who misappropriated funds. I'm sure other things might be there if we're permitted to look at the record.
Something very urgent has come up yesterday, last night. I heard Sally O'Brien mention the following, that a judge in Louisiana has given permission to the KKK to, on Martin Luther King Day, with nooses, terrorize Jenna. And this is a very, I think I don't have to tell this audience how very serious this is. I merely stand here now bringing this up so that those, that the airwaves are filled with this story, and that those who have the ability to get on the air easily would treat this story very seriously. My area of New York City, Staten Island, I unfortunately had to deal with skinheads, neo-Nazis, etc. And some of us might recall in downtown New York the spectacle of the KKK being defended by Norman Siegel, who I suppose defends this noose march or whatever, with guns, by the way. The KKK will be there with guns. And I have been told how very serious the situation is, that it is very dangerous, and that no free speech for fascists, no. No free speech for them. Siegel needs to be exposed. Siegel was brought into Staten Island to shut down people like me who make this point. You're laughing? Why? This is very serious.
Because I think you're very funny.
I'm sorry, your time is up. The next person should speak.
Yeah. I only have two things I want to say. I still don't understand why there are no minutes coming out of this.
Illustrious organization.
Yeah, I mean, where are the minutes? Are you actually taking minutes? Yes, you actually have minutes. When was the last time someone like me, a listener, a staff person, saw your minutes? Where are they?
You want me to hand
You don't have to do it, sir.
Where's them from
They don't want to
2006?
see it.
Everybody please come to order.
Where
No.
are they? I think this whole thing should be.
Please come to order. Please come to order. When the public is speaking, the public alone speaks without responses from the board or comment. Thank you very much.
All right, that's it.
Again, good night to everybody. I'll start off with my usual. This Robert rules need to be scrapped, dumped, getting rid of. Let common sense rule these meetings. We had some people reading the Robert rules in support of a motion. One that, according to the rules, the LSB now should be 12 members. The other 12 members, and we are going to stand up for that. I mean, come on. Let me be real. We want progress, we want WBAI to move ahead. There's my friend, Mr. Cohen. 12 members can't do it. I don't agree with you on that. But we have a lot of agreement otherwise, but not that. The rules take up too much time and take away from common sense. We have a giant-sized issue before us right now with the elections. Something that need a special meeting of the board and listeners to deal with this election issue. We have members calling for the outing of 12 members for election that is at this stage incomplete. I'd like to know the reasons why the election is at this stage, and for me this meeting or special meeting should be called to decide or for us to hear about these things. Too many other things went under the rug, and this one should not be one of those. We have an election coming up, a national elections, where WBAI, always the leader in positive views, we need to take a better position right now. We have too much right now to me airplay and support for the one party with two wings that is misleading people in this country for years. They follow the same rule of the religious right. Religion, as far as it goes, is wrong. They don't have a right as far as religion goes. We follow beliefs and myths that are just hypocritical and at best. But BAI, LSP is our own, and BAI is our only hope. We cannot afford to watch it fall and in the infighting taken away. We had members of the National Board for a period of time, and at the National Board, we had infighting between BAI members, BAI delegates. If this is what we're going to be going through again for the next period, I suggest we scrap the whole idea of sending people to the National Board. We must be going there with one position. You cannot have arguments and fighting from BAI's delegates at a National Board meeting. This we could do here and fight it out. Bring gloves, bring bats, bring whatever you want, but let's fight it out. We need to get our time in here correct. Now, thank you.
All right. What time is it, timekeeper? 9:27. Monroe, you have
Last
the
It's
last
not really
2 or 3
important,
minutes.
The last word.
Because I was at the town hall meeting in Brooklyn, and it was nice in a way, and it was not so nice. It was nice to see a whole lot of people from Brooklyn who came. It was not so nice to see that some questions don't get answered. We're dealing here with a world that, at one time WBAI had a program on about the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times. And one time there used to be phones in one way, and then another, and another. In other words, then they put them in the streets, and you could put money in. And then now we have cell phones, and before that faxes and all kinds of, we have communication, and yet everybody has their own ideas, and some of them are not too good. On Saturday, I think I heard Kathy Davis say that some people got 3 ballots. She's shaking her head. Somebody's getting it on the camcorder, so I'm not going to lie. I couldn't believe it. I figured, well, maybe some people got 2 ballots because one, they had a program on WBAI, but on the other hand, they were members of WBAI, so that in a way they were voting for their staff person or unpaid staff person to represent them, and also they were having a member person to do you see what I'm driving at? So in other words, it almost was legitimate to get more than 1 ballot, because in great America we say one person, 1 vote. But I could see at WBAI people could have 2 votes. No, do you understand, or am I just making noise? So anyway, I'm dismissing you all. You have your consciences to worry about.
Okay, thank you. All right, the results of the elections are as follows. The PNB listener directors, there were 3 people elected in the first round. Carolyn Burden with 9 first-round votes, Lisa Davis with 7 first-round votes, and Nia Bediaco with 6 first-round votes. So those 3, Carolyn Burden, Lisa Davis, and Nia Bediaco, are going to the
Who's the runner-up? You got a runner-up?
I don't see any runner-up here. It was all over at the end of the first round.
Can you,
What? Do we have runners-up?
Yes, we do.
It's over.
What?
It's over.
Oh, turn the envelope over. I'm very sorry. All right, runner-ups. Mitchel Cohen, Patty Heffley, Alex Steinberg.
How many?
3 runners-up. Mitchel Cohen, Patty Heffley, Alex Steinberg.
How many votes?
For the record,
What?
for the record,
Yes.
one of these people leaves, we hold an election. He's down, so folks should be
Right.
excited about it.
That's true. If anybody leaves, there's a new election, so runners-up are actually rather irrelevant.
Can you also tell us what the threshold was?
The threshold.
The amount of votes that you needed to be elected? 6%. Well,
7.
so somebody got 6.
First round votes, 6 number 1 votes.
The threshold is 7.
Well,
The threshold is 7. You can't.
Excuse me. I'm going to recognize, it is 6, okay. The threshold is 6.
6, no, it's 7.
It's 6.
You divide it by the number of places, which is +1, and then which is 6, and then you add 1, which is 7.
Yes, and I'm going to recognize Serene, who is the only person who is asked to be recognized. The only person who is asked to be recognized is Serene. Serene has the floor. Everybody else, please come to order.
The formula is actually contained within the bylaws that we all know and love so well.
Yeah, the comment.
It is the number of valid ballots
Yes.
divided by the number of seats plus 1.
Right.
Which in this case would be 3 plus 1, which is 4. And you then round down if you have a fraction.
Right.
And add 1. The threshold is 6.
But we don't have
Okay.
a fraction, we have 24.
23.
23,
divided by
we had
4 is
23.
what?
23 divided by 4.
Oh,
Yes.
Thank you. We have to move on now. We must move on. Yes, Marquez wishes to speak. What? The threshold is 6.
Yes, we know.
Thank you. All right, next. The PMB staff director. Yes.
My microphone somewhere? It's lost. Very rapidly, we had that one public comment for 15 minutes.
That's correct.
Quarter after the hour. There's another one in here somewhere, and we are required to do 30 minutes.
That's
So
correct.
how are we going to get to that one so the CPB and the FCC don't beat us up?
Well, without objection, we have 2 pressing orders of business, one of which I'm going to dispense with right now. PMB staff directors. Elected Bob Lederer with 13 first-round votes. Runner-up is Kathy Davis with 10. All right, now, we must set the next local station board meeting, and then without objection, we will have 15 minutes of public comment. Okay? So, we have to set the, we have our time to discuss the next meeting is utterly exhausted. We have Mitchel Cohen's motion to consider the expulsion of Mr. Brown from the board right now, which would seem to be moot. As a substitute motion, we'll vote on that first. All those in favor of Mr. Cohen's motion to consider the expulsion.
Roll call vote, please.
No,
There's no time for such a vote.
that's true.
It's
moot.
It's moot.
It's moot. But either way, excuse me, please, I think we can see the direction that we're going in here, no matter what happens. If I rule that it's moot,
I have a question though.
yes,
Do we even have the elements that will be needed to actually proceed?
no.
Thank you.
We'll just take a quick vote.
Well, I'd like to talk to the motion.
No, the time for that has been exhausted.
What do you mean? We didn't
The
have
time for
any-
that has been exhausted.
There was no
The time has been
No
exhausted.
discussion at
All
all.
those in favor of
A
Mr.
roll call
Cohen's-
vote, please.
If there's an objection to a roll call vote.
Objection.
All those in favor of a roll call motion.
Roll call vote on the roll call.
I'm going to consider that all right, all those in favor of a roll call vote, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, that does not
And
carry.
where's the
All those in
What
favor.
does Robert's
All
say
those.
about
All
that?
those.
Wait.
What's the count? 8 to 12.
8 to 12.
That's 40%.
What? Oh, we adopted a special rule that's 40%. All right, so we'll have the secretary please read the roll rapidly.
What exactly?
What are we voting on?
What exactly we're voting on is Mr. Cohen's motion to consider the motion to expel Mr. Brown from the board right now.
Immediate
It's a roll call vote, right?
Yes, all those, all right, please, quickly.
What do we have to?
Yes means that we will do it right now. We will do that right now. No means that we will consider the motion to expel Mr. Brown right now in the remaining 10, 15 minutes of this meeting.
Bediako?
No, if only we could.
Burton?
Yes, yes.
Bornstein?
We abstain for
Brooks? No. Brown?
Bring it on.
Yes.
Please
Clay?
See you next month.
Cohen?
Yes, what are you afraid of? Put your money where your mouth is.
Kathy Davis?
Please refrain from editorial comment.
Lisa Davis?
No.
Please.
No.
Fishman? Flanders? No. One time, bring it all out.
Please refrain from editorial comment. Please, just yes or no, and let's move because it's very late.
Griffin?
No.
Heffley?
Yes.
LaForest?
No.
Lederer?
No.
Lucas?
No.
Martin?
Yeah, do it.
Rhodes?
Abstain.
Roberts?
No.
Ross?
Abstain.
Silva? No. Steinberg?
Yes.
Fishman?
Yes. Steve wants it now.
Whatever, Steve. Yeah. Kick him off the board already. Let's go. Come on.
Please come to order.
Come on.
Please come
Take the
to
troops
order.
in order.
Mr. Cohen, please come to order.
Seven yes, 11 no, 4 abstentions.
All right, that does not carry. The next thing we're voting on was Serene Roberts' motion that the chair and Mr. Brown will arrive at a date, a mutually agreeable date within the next 30 days. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, all opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, that carries. The next thing we're going to vote on, what, 5? I'm sorry.
I didn't write down the vote.
You're voting against? All those opposed, please raise your hands again. I didn't get that. 1, 2, 3, 4. What? Please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 opposed. All right, and what was 4? You didn't write it down?
I'm sorry.
All the 14 in favor. Okay. 14 in favor.
It was 14.
All right, you'll have to interrogate yourselves amongst yourselves. Now, do we have to set the date of the next local station board meeting because the most people said that they could not make Tuesday? I'm going to bring up Wednesday. All those in favor of meeting on Wednesday?
Point of information.
Yes.
Does that mean that we're going to meet?
We are going to meet.
Is that like an 8?
We understand that you're not going to be here, but we are setting the date for the next local station board meeting. We understand that you're not able to attend either day. But those are the days we're. Okay. All those in favor of Wednesday?
Point of information.
Yes.
Are you saying that's the day that? Oh, never mind.
The date of the next local station board meeting. All those in favor of Wednesday? What is it? February 9th?
Wednesday the
20th. 20th. Please raise your hand. So she can't make it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is your hand up? The 20th. Voting in favor? Hello. I'm not asking if you're not making. All those. Is there any objection to meeting on the 20th? Wednesday the 20th. Can we do it without objection? Meeting on the 20th? Is there any objection? Okay, no objection. Without objection, the next local station board meeting will be on February 20th. Now, without objection, can we have 15 minutes of public comment? Yes, please. All right, public comment. Who wishes to speak?
We heard this already.
Oh, come on, let
The
others
people,
speak.
or let's begin with people who have not yet spoken. Is there anybody who has not yet spoken who wishes to speak? William. William wishes to speak. He has not yet spoken. He will be first.
Thank you. Hello? Can you hear me? Through the speaker? I'm trying. I just wanted to read some parts from this, what is it called? An amended complaint. Mitchel Cohen, Robert Goldberg, Alex Steinberg, Patty Heffley, Frank Lefevre, James Ross, Gail Blacksey, if I'm saying that right, Blazy,
Please speak
and
up,
Sidney
William.
Smith.
Can you have the
Versus Pacifica Foundation, a California corporation doing business as WBAI Radio, Casey Peters and Dale Ratner. Those are the election supervisors.
What are you trying to say, though?
Please allow him to speak uninterrupted.
This is what caused all the problems with the election. Upon information and belief, in 2007,
Please
the
allow him to
Waivers
speak
Committee
uninterrupted.
of the
Come to order,
WBAI
please.
LSB approved
Please come to order.
so-called
I'm going to add to
hardship
his
waivers
time.
for the minimum monetary contribution and minimum volunteer time requirements for membership to many persons seeking such waivers despite that such persons had no bona fide hardship and or no sincere interest in WBAI membership. I don't have to go. And then they said, the purpose for which Ross, Jamie Ross, seeks inspection and copying of the